in this episode, I'm going to give you 3 steps that you can use to help you gather the ideas that you receive in your night dreams and then process what to do with them. So the first step is to ask, what is God speaking to me? You want to discover what God is speaking to you about these entrepreneurial ideas. Sometimes I have dreams that are literal, and sometimes I have dreams that require more digging. But in all of them, we need to ask the question, what are you speaking to me, God? I want to give you an example of just like a literal dream that I had. I saw a dreams manual that like turned into dream school, and it was on a desk. And I was told in the dream, take time to get away and write this. And so that was very literal. That was, what was God speaking to me? He was being literal, and I knew exactly what to do. He had been speaking to me prior about, dreaming. I had taught on dreams. I taught a couple classes on dreams before. And he was, leading me to say, okay, now you need to create this thing. You need to write about it and you need to create it. And so, when processing that dream, I can go, okay, I knew exactly what God was speaking to me. They're not always that clear cut. So another example is I dreamed about an idea, and I had the strategy to go with it all in this one dream. Someone I trusted who is a business mentor and coach that I'm, just familiar with, and I trust this person. They were walking with me, and they wrote down a strategy and ideas for me to launch something that would get me the finances I needed and wanted. And in the dream, they told me the type of content to launch with, how much to charge, and a product to offer, and then how to deliver it. But this dream was it was literal, but it was also symbolic. Have you ever had a dream that was like, there's some literal parts, but then there's these symbolic parts? Or even sometimes we can have dreams where the meaning is like, there's 2 meanings in it. And this dream was a lot of that. There were double meanings in a lot of the things in the dreams. And there was literal and symbolic things. So with that, I wasn't told what the specific course was for. The price was in percentage form, and the person told me in the dream, they're like, you're going to raise the price. And then it didn't say what the exact product was. Then she told me how to deliver it, but that wasn't like fully straightforward. She said, have your dad subscribe to it. and so what was God speaking to me? So how do we process these dreams? There's lots of other examples I could give you, but these are 2 that stood out to me. So how would we process that? I first wrote down what I sensed each part of the dream meant, then began to ask God questions about it. So I started with, what am I sensing? What is my immediate feeling on these things? Because the Holy Spirit, first of all, God is giving us these dreams, and it's not to like confuse us. It's to lead us and have a relationship. There's all kinds of, things that God does in dreams. There's, encounters, the intimacy, all that. You can even be healed in a dream. I've had dreams where God told me exactly, what my ailment was, like what was actually going on in the natural. So there's so many ways that God speaks to us, but we can sense what God is speaking to us. So that's the first thing I did. What do I sense about each part of this dream? Then I asked God questions. Now, I was currently working on creating something new, so I suspected that that's what this dream was for. I kind of was like, okay, I know what this dream is speaking towards. It's the thing I'm currently kind of working on putting together. And so I sensed that from the Lord. I knew to start out with like one price and then up the price by the percent. So it's like I could sense that in the dream. And I believe that when we process with God, we build that history of knowing what he's speaking. And so when I had the dream with the part that was the price was given to me in a percentage form, and then she said to raise the price, I just had a sense and a knowing that, okay, you're going to start out with one price. You're going to launch like maybe an introductory price, or you're going to, do something like that. But then you're going to go up by this percent. This is strategy. I was given the ideas and the strategy in a dream. And so those are questions that I would ask. Okay, is that what you're speaking, God? I'm sensing it, and then I ask the question, is that what you're speaking? So I'm like, we are like creating with God and working with God. He knows, that he's just like when you're awake and God speaks to you something, or you get a prophetic word, it's the same thing in dreams. Your dreams are, God can give you these messages in your dreams. And so the third part where he gave me the product, but it wasn't an exact product. I knew I would create that, but it wasn't like the exact type of product. So it was a template, but he didn't tell me this is the type of template that you're going to create. So in that part, I had to ask, okay, okay, God, what are you speaking to this? But I sense, okay, I know I'm going to create this product, this template to go with this thing that he's having me create. And I know that when it's time to create it, you're going to show me the details. So I knew that I just could sense that. It wasn't something that I needed to have all the answers to right then. And this is just how I kind of process. So that's the first step, is asking God, what are you speaking to me? There's many ways that you can, there's many ways that you can get to that point. But the question that you want to ask after you have a dream is, when you're processing these dreams, is, God, what are you speaking to me? Because there's so much that he can tell you in that time. And there's so much that you can discover. And I know that's not all he's going to speak to me about that dream. You can have more pieces to it later. I've probably gone back to that dream maybe 4 or 5 times now, and just listened and, gone back and just process it, because I'm in the process of creating this thing. So the second step is you're going to ask, when is this idea for? Okay. So first one, what is God speaking to you? The second is asking God, when is this idea for? Sometimes God will show me, like timing in a dream, but I don't always get timing in a dream. If I don't, like, I've gotten dates. One time I had a workshop that we were doing, and I needed a name for the workshop, and God gave me the name to go with for this workshop. So I named it exactly what he gave me. It was, I'm going to risk on the things I'm hearing. And that is another way that I grow in understanding what he's speaking, is risk on what he shows me. So I named the workshop that specific name that he gave me in the dream. But there was also a date in the dream. And I know now what he was speaking to me, but at the time I was still kind of learning to take these entrepreneurial ideas and strategies and how to actually process them and build with God with them. So this was during that time. So I took the name, I didn't take the date, I took the name and I put it out there. And as I was creating and putting together this workshop, if you've ever put together any type of offer, on anything, a funnel, online, whatever, I use Kajabi, you have all these details that go into it, like setting up the payment portal and just all that. Well, when I was trying to launch it for people to buy tickets and things like that, this payment portal would not go through. And I felt like I was in a delay, and I'm like, this needs to get out. And there's this delay. It It took a couple days for it to go through, and the day it went through was the date that was in the timing in the dream. So I can go back and go, oh, that's what you were speaking to me in this dream. And it helped me understand how he speaks to me in dreams and the language and how he talks to me. Because we all have like different languages that we understand, and God speaks to us, though, in those different ways. And so it allowed me to go back. But he gave me the exact date to launch the workshop, not the date to have necessarily to have it on. It was the date to launch it. So he does give, exact timing in dreams, but if he does not, what do you do? So a couple things I do is I consider what he has been speaking to me prior to the dream. So, what is he been speaking to me personally? Any prophetic words I have, any dreams that I've had before the dream. And then I also ask and look at what can I sense from him? What is God speaking to me? And if I sense him telling me to wait, like I don't have a timing, and I sense that kind of I'll tell you later kind of thing, or it's not yet, then I wait. I don't push through and go, well, he gave me this idea and it's for right now. I totally believe that God can give you an urgency and a now and tell you, this is now, and I need you to know this, right? We can trust that God will speak to us, especially, I believe this, it's like I have kind of like given my life to dream and build with God and go, I'm asking for your direction. I want to know your times and seasons. There are times and seasons for our ideas and our dreams. We position our life to be a life of God, that I want to dream and build with you, and I want to move on your time. And I'm asking for that direction. And so I do believe that we can sense that. So I wait, I sense, and then I move when when he's showing me. And I don't believe that I'll miss it because I trust him to go, hey, Kimberly. And I have some examples of that. So so here are some timing things. I had a dream about this certain, like, I would say arm of my business, this division of my business. And it was a big, like, thing to do. But I sensed that it wasn't time. At first, when I got the dream, I was so excited about it. And I was like, oh, I need to do this now. When I started talking to my husband about it. And he gives such great wisdom. He did not feel it was now either. But I, talking to the Lord and asking the Lord about it, I didn't sense that it was time. I wasn't ready with the resources that I needed. I didn't have the connections I needed. I didn't have the knowledge yet of certain things. Like, there's certain, like, skills that he wanted to teach me first. And I didn't have really the people for it. I just knew that it wasn't time. And as I continued to, I sat with this, man, I wanted to go with this idea, but it just wasn't time. And I probably had that dream 3 years ago, maybe. And it's just coming up, like in maybe 2023. And I'm still asking God about this for 2023. The very first part of it is in 2023. But that was 3 years ago. And I continue to, I know that this idea that he's given me, and I check back, and he's given me more dreams to remind me this is still a thing. He encourages me to go, I haven't forgotten about this. This is just, it's still yours. It's still there. And you're still going to do this. So that's one way that with how I determine and sense, like, timing with him. The other one is that first dream I mentioned about the dreams manual in the school. And the other thing is, I've learned with God, just processing with him, the word dreams manual in school doesn't necessarily mean it's a school. It could be classes or a course that's kind of like going to a school. It could be a mentoring program. It could be, so it's like I process and ask God those things. And I believe too, it's like, what is my heart's desire? What do I thrive in? What do I love? And I partner with God in that. So with that dream, um, uh, the time it's the timing in the dream said, get away and start writing this. Now, when I had that dream, I sensed that it was for then. But that was very early on with in that journey. And I did not act on it fully. I acted on it a little bit and I would look at it, and God kept reminding me over and over in different dreams. And he would put things on my heart. I taught some classes like on it. I said yes to, I taught it at my church. I did like a 3-day or a 3-part series on it. I taught it at another church. There was like these little things that I did with it. And, I've taught it in my business a little bit. Like I did a dream series on it, but I didn't fully do it. But he's continued to encourage me and give me these dreams to go, this is one of the things I've given you. This is one of the things I've called you to. And like I said before, I don't believe I can miss it. And I do believe that God will up the urgency and go, hello, this is this is now. And that is why this group is here, this Dreams and Prophecy group, because, I started a Dreams and Prophecy page last year, and I was overwhelmed, and I was like, I hesitated and all the things, but I know it was like, I knew the urgency was like, you have to do this, or you just have to do this. You have to step, and I'll show you every step of the way. And so, having those continual dreams to remind me, I made you to teach on dreams. That's one of the things that you'll do. And, he continues to encourage me that way. So I want to encourage you that if you have an idea or something that you feel like you heard God on, whether it was in a dream or awake, and you feel like you've delayed, I just want to encourage you that that God will be kind to continue to remind you, hey, remember that thing that you love, because I do love dreams. But it's like the thing, I've really made you for this, and he will continue to remind you. And now I'm finally doing it. Another timing is the second dream, where he gave me the idea, the strategy, and then how I would do it. There wasn't like timing in the dream. So I had to ask God questions. And first thing I did was, okay, what do I sense? I knew that God had been speaking to me prior. So I went through those kind of questions. What have you been speaking to me prior to this? I was currently working on something. So I was like, what do I sense? Is there an urgency or a now on this? Or is this just a time for me to be asking you questions? So that's a big thing. I kind of, with times and seasons and the timing on things, I consider, what do I sense? Is there a now or urgency on this? Or are you just leading me to ask you questions about this right now? I look at the prophetic words I have, and then I ask God questions, and I proceed when I have his go on it. So that's number 2. The third step is, how is God showing you to proceed? Okay, and this is looking for strategy. This is the how. And so I